This is a site I use most often to get a rough idea, and that's Alexa.com. It essentially builds itself as a web information company. It tracks information on different categories, which is very helpful whenever you're trying to pin down a category that you are interested in. You can actually go through and find sites in a given category, and then from there actually march down and find the ones that you most likely will be interested in purchasing. It gives a brief summary here, if you will, on the site. Tells you a little bit about it, and then what it does is it gives you a traffic graph of what the site has done over the past couple of months. You can also max it out, which I believe it goes all the way up to 9 months. Now, one of the things that the restriction here is with Alexa is it only stores up to 9 months worth of data, and it also has one other issue, and that is that any site that is below the 100,000 or above the 100,000 level, if you will, it doesn't report or give full information on, unless it of course has a reach that's large enough where it actually shows up on the graph. And it turns out ADHD News does. But here you can see sort of what the chart is in terms of traffic on a given monthly basis is. The other thing that's on here as well is you have here a trend report that shows you what it's done over the last 3 months. And this is very helpful, particularly if you want to get sort of a trend of what the site's doing. Here, as you can see, the site took a really huge jump here in the past 3 months. And then of course it gives you statistics on a number of things such as page views, which is also helpful. And it tells you what the traffic rank is in other countries. In this case here, for example, in the United States I'm 57,000. Of course, overall in the worldwide, I'm not. Let's take a look at one other thing here. The other thing that I like here is the sites linking in. Now, these are the sites here that actually link to me. Here you can see a list of sites represented by sort of a graphic, and then of course what the actual site does. And you can look at information of the sites that actually link to you. This way you can kind of find out what is out there that links to your potential site that you want to acquire, which gives you a flavor too for the quality of sites that link to that. And I'm going to talk about that in some greater detail. That is, how to discover sites that link to you and how important those are will a lot of times determine how prominent the site that you're attempting to purchase is. That is, the more prominent the sites that link directly to that site, the greater chances that site is also important as well. As you can see here, you can click on and find the additional information. Here you can find out this site that links directly to me. In this case, it was radioweblogs.com. It's got its own traffic rank and then the sites that link to them. And here you get an idea of kind of what's out there. So it's a really handy place to come and get information, which of course is Alexa.com. I use this to kind of get a rough idea, as I said, of where a site ranks, how well it's going to rank, and then of course the basic information about the site. Okay, this is the second site I use called Compete.com. Compete actually provides information that more in depth than Alexa.com, but just different. And I'm going to show you another site right after this one that even gives you some different information. What I like about this is it gives me a people count. In other words, it ranks the top 1 million sites on the web, and then by telling you the number of people that that particular domain attracts each month, it gives you a pretty good indication of the number of people involved. Because if you have a lot of people visiting a site, there's a greater opportunity that those people will click on ads, greater opportunity those people will buy what you have to offer them in the future. It's a better chance of you being more successful if you've got a site that has a lot of people coming to it. In this case here, the graph is kind of inverted, but you can see here that on some months I have anywhere between 35 to 80,000 people that actually come to the site. Now, it breaks down visitors to the site by number. It gives you a total of people counts, which we just saw here. It also gives you a number of visits. In other words, you have a lot of people that come to the site, but they may visit it multiple times. For example, if you get people that if you have, say, sort of a one-to-one relationship of people visiting, then your visits come very close to the number of people that visit the site every month. What you want to look for are people that stay a little bit longer. In my case here, I'll give you an idea of what that means. Here, for example, I have the average stay. And this is done on a monthly basis. As you can see here, the average person stays about 5 minutes, and then somehow, somewhere along the line in October, it went much higher. I'm not sure why that is. That's a question for the ages, but this is helpful because I now know sort of how long a person remains engaged at the site. And one of the things I'm going to mention to you when we sort of look at how to value a site, I'm going to give you the tips and tools that you need in order to keep people at the site a whole lot longer than what they're currently staying at. 5 minutes is a good number. It means there's enough content there and there are enough things that engage the user that they're going to be there for a while. And once again, the longer they stay, the more they click on ads, the more possibility for you bringing on more revenue, whether that comes from Google AdWords or whether that comes from any other revenue source that you may decide to generate in the future. But this is an essence of what you see here. This site's quite popular as well. It goes also, sorry, the site is also very useful for things related to the type of keywords that are being used. In this case here, it tells us what type of search terms are being used to attract the actual site. And you have an option to actually obtain a report that gives you even more details on all the keywords if you sign up for one of their services, which you can find out a little bit more. So as you can see here, we've gotten 2 sites now. We've got Alexa.com that gives us a rough idea, Compete.com that gives us a little bit more in detail information about the site. That is the number of visitors that its site attracts each month, and also the length of stay, and some other factors too that we're not going to go into right now, but just to give you an idea of sort of what's out there in terms of using all that's available to you to find information about the site. Now we're going to go to the next site. Okay, this is another site that I use to evaluate a website. I use a site called Quantcast.com. It keeps track of reports on a little over 20 million different sites. And in addition, what it does is it gives you some great information here. One of the pieces of information that I like, it gives me a rank, which I like. In this case here, it says one of my sites is ranked at 39,000. And in addition, it gives me a description of the site, pretty much what the site's all about. But some really important information here that I like is this here where it says similar audience. It gives me essentially a list of sites that are like mine, that in case I can't buy that site that I'm looking at, I can find other sites that may be likely candidates. And here what it does is it lists those so that you can then click on those and hopefully maybe make those people an offer if you cannot make an offer or the offer doesn't go through with the site that you're currently evaluating. It's a really neat way of getting information or the book on a different site to know what other sites are very close to them in use. What I like also is the fact that it can tell me the number of keywords, the audience of keywords that are being used at that particular site. So in this case ADHD, I know that my site, this information is fairly accurate, that people also search for my site use for the term ADHD medications, ADHD diet, Concerta, ADD medication, ADHD symptoms, and so forth and so on. And it's very helpful information so that you know how popular a site is with a given search term. Can help you also not only make a better offer on the site, but also look at how to increase the value of that site if these particular keywords are not showing up. The other thing, of course, it then gives you sort of a graph as to what the site's doing on a month-to-month basis. In this case here, if you notice that things kind of pick up a lot here in the beginning of the year, and the reason why that is for ADHD, why is because kids are going back to school, kids have attention deficit disorder, so what is the first thing they look for? They look for information on ADHD. So you notice around here, around October and September, that search for that site goes a lot. And I've